It's effing Monday, everybody. Live radio here on UCY.TV. This is the Boiler Room. I am your host, Jim Funke, and we will be together for the next 60 minutes. Me, you, and my main man, Lance Musser. Good evening, Lance.
Good evening, Jimmy. How you doing?
I'm doing good, man. It was a effing beautiful day here today, boys. 77 degrees is what we peaked out at. Bright blue sky all day long, not a chemtrail to be seen. And I'm looking out my window right now and I see some deer walking up from the back, coming up to eat.
Oh, that's nice.
Yes, it is. No crickets. Got the window wide open. Don't have the cricket mic going because I didn't hear nothing. But, man, oh man, it's coming. We got one more day of 40s on Wednesday and then it's 60s for the rest of the time until we break off into the 70s, 80s, and 90s.
Till November. I'm ready for that break till November.
Shit, yeah, dude, I'm telling you what.
I know the people up north are ready too.
It was a hell of a winter, boy. I mean, even in the Mid-South, like where I'm at, it was just, I mean, that 10 inches of snow was just, whew.
It has been.
And then it was like every weekend, you know, they'd try to give you a long range forecast and they'd throw some 40s and shit. And then here come the polar vortex back down into the single digits. Mm-hmm. So just very, very off-putting.
Oh yeah. Well, we're doing the Easter egg hunt for the Fort Eustis base. My Kiwanis Club does that every year. Mm-hmm. And, last year it was really cold, so we'll see what happens this year. Could snow April 19th. You never know.
Don't say that. Don't say that.
God, I hope not.
Yeah, leave it right there. Just leave it lay right there.
I said the first person that I hear say, damn, it's too hot, I'm going to smack upside the head.
Just whip out the pictures of the winter,
Exactly.
The 6 inches of snow on the top of your car. And remember that? Shut up and deal with it.
Yeah, maybe
dive in the pool. So, what's going on Wall Street, man? Let's do the Smoke'em's Market Minute.
Absolutely. Dow, all of them. I mean, NASDAQ, Dow, S&P, down just a minuscule fraction of each, so you didn't lose anything if you still have it in your 401k. Bond market got killed last Thursday, Friday, ended up good today. So no complaints on that end. So we're all good. I'm sure Manarino will have
I didn't even listen to anything today, man. I was going from the time my feet hit the floor this morning.
Yeah, it's pretty.
I didn't come in for Jules' show. I didn't come in for, I was always on my feet and outside because I saw that sun break out this morning. I was like, okay, time to go. Stuff to do. So I didn't catch up on nothing. I didn't watch any videos. I didn't do nothing. So I guess we're going to learn it all together.
Sweet. I do have, just as one of my little tidbit stories is actually going to take up the time of normal two of them. So
okay.
I'll go into this. It's really 20 facts about the great retail apocalypse that'll actually blow your mind. I don't know if you've read this.
No.
It talks about the U.S.
You got
economy.
a link you can drop in the room?
I do. Yeah, hold on a second. I'll do that as soon as I'm done.
Right on.
If the U.S. economy is getting better, then why are major retail chains closing thousands of stores? We've talked about it, you and I, many times. It's been all over the internet about all these retail places
putting thousands of people out of work. Yeah, but I think Radio Shack's closing 1,100 stores nationwide.
Well, this site, the economicalcollapseblog.com, and I'll post it in here, actually compiled the whole thing. And I think once you see it all together, you're like, dang, that's a lot. So I'm going to actually go through a couple
How the hell is the unemployment rate still at 6.7%?
Wah, wah. 37%, or even higher. But the problem with a lot of the brick and mortar places closing is, it's got to do with the economy, but also look at there's millions of Americans that actually prefer to shop online instead of going to a brick and mortar.
So all you guys that are getting canned, go apply for UPS jobs.
Right. Yeah, right. Cause but the drones will be taking those jobs over. But there's a lot of people that publish novels now and they only make it available digitally, online, Amazon or something like that. But internet shopping alone doesn't account for all of the retail apocalypse that we're actually going down. I mean, median income households declined over the last 5 years, but the price of everything has gone up. So as we're reading this article, there's approximately 1 billion square feet of retail space that's sitting vacant right now in the U.S. Yeah. Last week, Radio Shack announced that it was closing more than 1,000 stores. Also last week, Staples announced that it was going to close 225 stores. Office Depot same-store sales have declined for 13 quarters in a row. JCPenney's has been dying for years. It closes 33 more stores. And they also lost $586 million during the second quarter of 2013 alone. Probably had a lot to do with closures. Sears has closed 300 stores since 2010, and CNN's reporting that Sears is expected to shutter another 500 Sears and Kmart locations very soon.
You remember when Sears was considered a blue chip?
Yeah.
Just throw that out there.
Growing up as a kid in the 70s, I would get the catalog every year and circle what I wanted. My grandmother and grandpa would get me that stuff out of the Sears catalog. Overall sales numbers have declined at Sears for 27 quarters in a row. Target has announced that it's going to eliminate 475 jobs and not fill 700 positions that are currently empty. Aeropostale will close 175 stores over the next 2 years.
Good, because that's shitty clothes.
It is. Macy's is closing 5 stores and eliminating 2,500 jobs. We've talked about that before. Mm-hmm. No, they are. The Children's Place announced that it would be closing down 125 of its stores. Best Buy recently shut down 50 stores up in Canada.
Damn.
Yeah. Blockbuster, obviously all of them completely shuttered. It's projected that sales at supermarkets will decline by 1.7% this year. McDonald's has reported sales were down 3% in January. A lot of that had to do with weather, would be my guess.
Good.
Home appliance chain known as American TV, I've never heard of them, but they're out in the Midwest somewhere, is going to be shutting down 11 stores. And they even say Walmart is struggling right now, so they may have to lower the size of the yacht that they can buy next year.
Good. You know, I'd feel
and people are saying it's time to close Walmart stores. That was another thing. Underperforming Walmart stores in rural centers, they're talking about closing them.
I'd feel really bad for the people who got put out of work, but I would love to see Walmart go tits up.
You would think that the local community that would rebound in the amount of business would fulfill a lot of those, jobs.
Correct. So they would be absorbed into the economy somehow. I would love to see Walmart go tits up. But anyway, carry on.
And then the labor force participation rate is at a 35-year low. 70% of all Americans not in the labor force are below 55. Just some pretty interesting facts. Talks about middle class. 5 years ago, 53% of people considered themselves to be middle class, and today only 44% consider them to be middle class.
44. Right? Yeah, right.
I heard this crazy guy talking on the radio last night, the Crazy Talk News Radio, talking about the financial health, the health of the economy right now. And he said 51% of Americans have over 50% equity in their homes. And I said the guy was out. He was trying to paint a real
what
pretty
matrix
picture
was
of
that from?
I don't know, but there's people out there talking that stuff.
Boosh. That's boosh.
I was yelling at the radio.
You know that more than I do. I mean,
I was yelling at the radio. He was talking about how it's a full recovery. We should pull out of it anytime soon.
It's on the payroll for the administration.
Oh yeah. I mean, I'll save it for Wednesday for a longer one, but, very, very interesting stuff I was reading today, but it was long enough to where it would be for the Wednesday show, and we got 2 hours.
Okie dokie.
So that's my market minute.
Right on. Well, let's jump over here and let Scott have his 2 minutes and 16 seconds. No ad. Hey, no ad.
Hello, this is Scott and this is a Hype Report. Today's report is sponsored by the free book Ramblings of a Madman. Here are the quotes for various items. First, biggest national security problem. From Benghazi, Libya to Ukraine, more and more it is becoming apparent that Obama and his delusional beliefs are crippling the U.S. on the international stage. According to John Bolton, ignoring our national security is the Obama doctrine. Speaking of national security, next, criminal IRS. It appears that there is mounting evidence that the IRS is not only not impartial, as they purposely targeted groups opposed to Obama, however now they are hiring identified terrorist suspects into their ranks. With IRS agents being trained with AR-15s, perhaps the IRS should be classified as a terrorist organization. Next, NSA stored metadata. Foreign Intelligence Surveillance Court Judge Reggie Walton has denied the NSA's request to keep metadata on Americans for more than 5 years. Of course, officials at the NSA will skirt the order by copying it into data centers in foreign countries where the court has no jurisdiction. Maybe they will get those floating Google data centers to store it for them. Next, gold inventory. The U.S. official bar list of deep storage gold held at Fort Knox, Denver, and West Point can be accessed via the Silver Doctor site. It is interesting that the purity of the gold is shown with a 1% purity at the end of the list. Of course, there has not been no physical
1%.
Gold inspection since the last time a physical audit was conducted in 1954. Therefore, is there gold there? Next, consumer debt. In the past 12 months, Americans have racked up another $172 billion in consumer debt. Of that, 96% of that is in new student and car loans. Next, uninsured not signing up. According to a new survey, only 27% of previously uninsured have signed up for Obamacare. Getting the uninsured on Obamacare was the stated purpose of this scam. Of course, the apparent real goal for this scam was to take over 1/6 of the U.S. economy and throw American medicine into the dark ages. Leeches, anyone? Next, choices. When it comes to concealed carry, which is better, the revolver or the semi-auto? The semi-auto is faster and higher capacity. However, the revolver is more reliable and costs less. Whichever you desire, it is important to be able to protect yourself and your loved ones because you know Holder, along with the other criminals, won't. Finally, please prepare now for the escalating economic and social unrest. Good day.
And if you're a good shot, 1 shot, 1 round, 1 stop. 6 stops. I like my revolver. I do. I got a Ruger single 6 Vaquero. It's a very nice gun. .357 Magnum. It will stop your ass.
I'm sure.
But you also have to remember that handguns are only to use to get to the long guns. They are to keep the enemy's head down while you run for the shotgun and the long rifles, because that's where you will do your damage. Handguns are personal protection. That's
I got one, touch real quick on something Scott said.
Sure.
The gold, he was talking about the gold, about the audits and stuff like that.
1%, people. It said that the purity is 1%. Of the bars that they're holding. 1%, not 0.9999, 1%. Go ahead.
There is a story that I was reading today, and let me just go through my train here. It was on Before It's News. Ukraine gold reserves reportedly shipped to the U.S. Amazing how quickly gold can be transported. It talks about all of 33 tons.
Last week, didn't we?
That it would happen.
Yeah. Well, no. I saw that report. I think I Facebooked that out last week that the gold had been shipped to the United States.
I don't ever remember talking about it.
Okay. Go ahead.
I must have missed it, but yeah, if in case anybody hadn't heard, which I hadn't. So good. That helps with the validity of this because, anytime I see a story on Before It's News, I'm going to see the source. And if it's from one of their contributors, I may not even repeat it, but it goes to goldmap.com. So it gets linked there.
It's a legit story. Yeah, it's a legit. Keep going.
And then that linked the story from where they got it to newswire24.com. And then it linked from there to iskranews.info, which is a Ukrainian website. And then you go to Google Translate and hit translate on it. And it is a website straight from the Ukraine. They show photos, and I'm not sure if it's a stock photo, but it shows the airport where it took off from at least. Yep. And talks about how corrupt it is. So, it's interesting that if the gold went out, that it went to the U.S. and what Putin would have to say about that.
Oh, it's been rehypothecated 6 times already. Sorry. Just had to throw that in there. Jamie Dimon went, yeah. Sorry about your gold, Ukraine, because you will never see it again. You will never see it again.
Well, they will, just through a window
binoculars.
50 feet away with a telescope.
Through some binoculars, yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Stupid people, man.
They are.
Don't ever trust the United States. Never. Never. Never, never. I wouldn't let Obama walk my dog.
The pure hypocrisy of it all.
No. Okie dokie. So Manarino's about 9 minutes long, 9 minutes long. But it says important at the beginning of the video, so.
Yeah, usually after about 4 or 5, you'll be able to realize he's meandering on and cut him off.
Hi, everybody. It's me, Greg Manarino. How are you today? It's Monday, March 10th, 2014. All right, people, I'm going to cover a lot of things with you today, and much of what I'm going to cover is from questions and comments that I've got from all of you. I've had some time over this weekend to look through my emails, and some interesting stuff's going on. And I have to say, all of you out there are very smart. That's a fact. Let's start off with this, though. Today, the equity markets here in the United States are about flat. We saw some movement into bonds here, nothing major going on. But geopolitical events are pretty intense, and they're intensifying. And we're hearing about this missing airliner as well. I mean, it's everywhere. Yes, it is tragic. They don't know what happened to this, but I think it's kind of the look over here, don't look over there scenario that we're seeing. They do this.
Don't look at the passports.
Very typical. It's very telling as well. Okay, but let's move on to some of the comments and questions I've gotten from all of you out there regarding precious metals, currencies, equity markets, debt markets. You know, it's a confusing environment, and there's no doubt about it. But if you can just lay out some very basic premises, it becomes very, very simple, and you'll know instinctively what you need to do. And I'm really going to try to capture this in this short video. So let's talk about this. What are we trying to achieve when we're talking about any aspect of the market? Again, I just went over.
And strike 3.
Yeah, we don't need the question and answer session on it.
And I think, actually, I'm not sure. We'll find out here in just a second. We do have a call coming in. Caller?
Hello.
Jimmy.
Hello. Hey, this is Jimmy from Michigan.
Hey, what's up, brother? I knew you were going to call in. I was just getting ready to drop everything on everybody in the chat room. So, yeah, that's perfect.
Okay.
That's perfect timing. I was just getting ready to tell Lance, actually. So.
Okay, cool. She said, did you get the clip that she sent you by chance?
I got the clip of the show, but I kind of perused through it and I couldn't find your call. You know, it was the whole hour and 40 minutes or whatever that she sent me. So
yeah, it's quite a long, so you just missed it or whatever. Yeah, but what happened is I called in and I was able to, talk to, Colonel Riley.
Okay.
Who's
let me preface this real quick for everybody. If you guys remember last week, we talked to Jimmy and Wendy both about this new thing that everybody's dropping. Well, I haven't really seen a whole lot of it over the last week or so, but the American Spring that everybody's talking about, trying to get some dumbasses to show up in Washington with guns. So this is where we're going to take the rest of the show. Well, as long as we can take it. We've got another 40 minutes left, so I'm going to go ahead and dump it on you, Jimmy. Go ahead. You called into a radio show to talk to somebody about it?
Yeah, I did. I talked to one of the guys that's running it. His name is Riley, Colonel Riley, Colonel Paul Riley, and the other guy's name was Paul Falvey. That was the name.
Yeah, Paul Val from Fox News, yep.
Yeah, from Fox News. Well, what I asked him flat out, I said, is there any truth to any of this? And he said no, And he said this actually confirms some things, that there are like provocateurs trying to screw up what he's trying to do.
So what is he trying to do, though? I mean, is he trying to do the American Spring thing or what?
Have a protest, basically. The American Spring is basically a protest.
Okay. So he doesn't want to call it that.
It's not going to do any good.
Right, I got you.
But you know what I'm saying. You and I both know it's not going to do any good. But that's here nor there. If people show up and actually want to, walk around with signs or whatever, that's fine. But the thing is that he believes, and I believe, this is now we've pretty much confirmed this, that there are infiltrators coming into the Tea Parties, the militia groups, trying to provoke something to make this something that it's not.
Yeah.
And that's what we believe is happening.
Hey, Lance.
And like you said last week when we were talking, this could easily be a prelude to what is about to happen, something that's going to come after. They might not do anything at this thing, but they're going to do something in the future. And if we stay diligent, I think we have an opportunity to stop it.
Well, Lance even said something yesterday about there being a bunch of Anon trolls in the room last night that were trolling around. Didn't you say something to me about that, Lance, in Skype? Because I wasn't in the chat last night.
I did. There was a show that was supposed to be on, and it wasn't on. I think it was between 10 or 12. I can't remember what time it was. But there were these trolls, and they're, talking about Jules and just blabbering on nonsense that you see on good YouTube stories when somebody gets too close to the truth of something, and then somebody, does the ad hominem attack, basically.
So they're trying to infiltrate everywhere.
Mm-hmm.
And this whole American Spring thing, I haven't seen a whole lot of it played out on Facebook or nothing yet. When it does hit social media, but when it does, though, Jimmy, you know as well as I do, when it hits social media, man, it's going to take off like a bat out of hell. All these conservatives are going to be jumping on the bandwagon, blah, 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 blah. Yeah?
Mm-hmm. Well, but I don't think that they will, because of what has been unfolding. We've talked to people. We have very good friends that are high up in the Tea Party leadership that have been hearing all of this too, and this is the first time that, at least for us, that everybody is seeing this type of
the trollness in it.
What's the word I want to use? It's just they're infiltrating everyone, everybody, anybody that is. I hate to use the word conservative because I think it's phony. But I will use that because, for lack of a better word, I guess.
Okay.
And things like that. They're going after every organization that has that counters them, that doesn't like the government, that has a problem with what the government is up to, and they're pushing back big time, and they're trying to infiltrate and provoke and make something make this into something that it's not.
Well, that's part of the playbook, though, isn't it? I mean, you gotta fund both sides, right? You gotta play both sides of the coin. That way, you're always on the winning end. So they're gonna have
exactly.
Yeah, they're gonna hire people to go out and troll us, and troll the internet for us, and park the van down the street and screw with your internet wireless whenever they can, and all that horse shit, right?
Right, exactly.
And then if you get too close, that's when you get the door kicked in and all your shit's taken.
Right, exactly. But I think that what they have actually managed to do is get more and more people on our side. They have screwed with people so much that more people are willing to listen to the idea that we need to worry about our state and make sure that your community and your family's taken care of. And the hell with everybody else, you know?
Well, that's because when you get on Facebook or Twitter, you can't get away from all the rogue cop stories, the violence against average citizens. You can't get away from all the talk about the government spending money where it doesn't belong, and the infrastructure in this country falling apart while they're still giving billions of dollars to countries overseas. You can't get away from it anymore, and people are finally, getting their fill. Right. And you can only take so much of that before you got to actually react to it.
Right. Well, it starts to affect people's wallets too, and that matters to them all of a sudden. Now it starts to matter.
Right.
And we've got, just today I read an article on Alex Jones's website about a police officer in Connecticut.
Did you wash your eyeballs afterwards?
Well, I know you don't like him, but but he does have some decent news once in a while. And I just read an article. Right. Well, sure he does.
Anyway, go ahead. I'm just.
He wrote an article. There was an article on there about a Connecticut cop that's talking about that he can't wait to go door to door to take people's guns away, and it's not a Nazi.
That's
thing.
lieutenant. Whatever
it's a state statute. All I'm doing is enforcing a state statute. It's not a Nazi law. Wow, wait a minute. The Nazis had a state statute too, I mean, come on. These people don't even know what they're talking about. I mean, that's
what happened to his constitutional oath?
Right, exactly. I agree with you. You're preaching to the choir.
Are you an oath keeper? Are you former military, Jimmy?
No, I'm not. But I did take an oath. I did take the militia oath. And the militia oath says that I have to obey orders from the officers and the governor and what have you placed over me in good conscience. Those three words right there, in good conscience, mean everything.
Yeah, they give you an out.
You cannot give me an illegal order. And I don't have to obey an illegal order. Right. So, so if you, not you, but if somebody gives me an illegal order, I'm not under any obligation to obey it.
Right.
And
actually,
that's
nobody
what I
is. I mean, common sense should step in at some point, right? I mean, do you agree with that?
Yes, of course I do.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So that's all that, I mean, that's what it comes down to basically is common sense. You're not going to fire on a woman that's trying to protect her kids. You're not going to fire on a 70-year-old guy reaching into the bed of his truck until you see the weapon. You know what I mean? That story down in Florida just floored me that they shot that 70-year-old guy. It's just, and you can go on and on and on and on. And I think that's finally what's waking people up. Is that they're seeing that this is getting entirely, or has been, out of control, man. It's out of control.
Oh, it is. And thank God we have some decent police officers out there that aren't like that. I mean, I know
where the hell are they? Why aren't they arresting the ones that are tasing people's dogs and shooting kids?
Well, because they don't work in that district. That's why.
But you see these stories from all over. I can pull you up. I guarantee you I can go to a website right now and I can pull you one story, at least one story from every state in this country today.
Uh-huh.
So where are these good cops? Where were the good cops when Kelly was getting his ass kicked, and got beat to death?
Yeah, exactly. Where were they? Exactly. They beat that poor guy to death for no reason.
No, because, at first it was just two guys harassing him, right? And then they got him on the ground and they started calling for backup. And then the other guys that came in, they didn't even question it. They was just dog pile.
Right. I know. I don't know where they all are. I don't.
So, the only reason I said that is because you said, thank God there's good cops out there. That's what I'm asking. Where are they at?
Well, I think that there are. I mean, I personally think that there are. I like to believe that there are anyway. I certainly don't like to believe that our society has spiraled into this absolute despotism. You know, I mean,
what do you see around you, though, Jimmy? What do you see around you on a daily basis?
What you're asking me, you're saying what I see around me. What I see around me is not the bad things. I haven't seen any of the bad stuff.
Do you get to Detroit?
Me. Well, Detroit is a little different. I don't live there either.
But you know, how long is it going to take for the creep? You know, how long is it going to take for the creep?
And I'm looking at an article right here from the Jackson Patriot, where they took these people's property and they found oil on it. They were 1 year behind on their taxes.
Right.
They can't take your property until you're 3 years behind on your taxes.
But
they took it after
oil.
1 year, and they found oil. The county owns the property, and they're making the dividends off of the oil.
Right.
You know, that's corruption. I don't care what anybody says.
What about the guy? Corruption. I can't remember his name. What about the guy down in Georgia last year? We did several shows on him. At least I know I did. I think JJ did too. The guy down there had chickens in his backyard. County didn't like it. Said came up with some kind of story about the drainage on the back of his property, and he was like, "Hey, I told you about that, and I tried to borrow the equipment, and blah 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 blah." And they wound up burning this guy's house down.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. And they're trying to get rid of backyard chickens here in Michigan too. They're going around the
I think
farm
Baker won though, didn't he?
Yeah,
Baker's Green Acres. He won his case. Thank God.
He won his case. Yes, he did. And the judge dismissed the criminal case without prejudice, which means that.
I wonder if they're going to reimburse him for everything that he's dumped into this, because he almost bankrupted himself.
That's why it was dismissed without prejudice. That's
so
what those words mean.
Yeah.
That means that he can file back, right? And because it's on him. Because the judge that was there can't give him any money because he's a district court judge. It's a criminal case. He
was a plaintiff anyway, so, you know,
right.
or the defendant. I mean, he wasn't the plaintiff; he was the defendant. So he couldn't get
right,
reported
exactly.
anything. He has to file.
And it was a different court. It's a different court. They do different things.
Right.
District courts are different than civil courts are.
But now he ought to be able to find a lawyer, and maybe his lawyer can do it. I don't know. I think it might be, like you said, it's a whole different ball of wax. So I don't know if the lawyer has to have a certain type of law degree or whatever. But he ought to be able to find somebody to file for free, because they know they'll win that shit.
Yeah, it was a big deal because when the judge dismissed his case, he dismissed it without prejudice. Well, that means he doesn't have to have a hearing to sue. Because it was dismissed without prejudice, that means that he can sue instantly. He doesn't have to go and get like Mike did. Mike had to go and ask a court, is it okay if I sue the government? You know, it's ridiculous.
Sure.
Yeah. But this guy, but Mark Baker does not have to, because it was dismissed without prejudice, so he can immediately turn around with his lawsuit. So,
good,
and I think he already has. Say it again. I
said good. That's absolutely fantastic. I hope he gets $10 million. I hope he gets $100 million. You know, I hope he bankrupts your state.
I hope he breaks the state.
Yeah,
I do. Zipporah, stop that. Sorry, I gotta yell at my kids once in a while here.
That's all right. So let's get back to the American Spring thing. You know, are you all finished up with that, or where do you think that's going to wind up? Do you think that they're just going to drop it like a hot rock now, since everybody's seen through their bullshit?
I think they're going to drop it. I don't think anybody's going to show up. I think that they, I don't think anybody's going to show. If they do, it's going to be a small group of people that shows up. and they're not going to be able to pull anything. They're not going to be able to. I think that what we need to do is stay diligent on this, because I believe that they want to badly do something and blame it on the militia or the Tea Party or some kind of group like that, and so they can have an excuse to come after all of us, everybody. And whether I don't know what you think about the Tea Party. Doesn't really matter. Some of them are good people, some of them aren't. Whatever.
Yeah, they've just been infiltrated. I mean, it started off good, just like Occupy, just like everything else we try to do. It starts off really good, and then it gets infiltrated, and people just start, going off the rails. So.
Sure, but I think what has happened is now we've been infiltrated by government provocateurs. And that's what I believe. I think that the militias and I talked to some of the people in the leadership of the Tea Party. They believe that there's government provocateurs inside the Tea Parties, and they think that this is that they're trying to really create some kind of terrorist or thing that out of the whole deal.
They want to find terrorists, man. All they got to do is go to the Fed.
Well, I agree.
People walking all over the hallways there, boy. I mean, or Washington D.C. You go in the halls of Congress. There's terrorists everywhere in this country. You can find them all over there wearing suits and ties and making millions.
Right? They call themselves Department of Homeland Security.
Right.
Right.
TSA.
TSA.
Military industrial complex.
Certainly the FBI.
Pentagons.
Oh yeah, and it's a government. This is a state statute. This isn't a Nazi law. This is a state statute. Well, the Nazis were acting under state laws.
Statutes,
or statutes or whatever. Exactly. There comes a time when you've got to say enough is enough.
Papers, please.
And I hope that they can do that.
Your papers, sir. Papers, please.
Say it again. I'm misunderstanding you.
Show me your papers, sir.
Oh, show me your papers. Yeah, exactly. Papers, please. Yeah. It's getting that way. It really is. And they have robots now that run around and for crowd control.
Hey, if you're standing in the wrong spot on the street, show me your ID.
Yeah.
I don't have to show you my ID. It's a free country. Show me your ID, son. You don't want me to pull this taser out, do you?
Well, the very fact that they're setting up free speech zones around places is ridiculous, too.
Yeah, you can say whatever you want way the F over there where nobody can hear you. Behind those buildings.
Or look at you or see you. Right, exactly. And that's wrong. There's a plethora of things that are wrong. And people go for it. People buy into it too, which kills me. More people are starting to see it from our side, but I think anyway.
Because more Joey Bag of Donuts are getting thumped, more innocent dads are being killed outside of a theater in front of their daughter and wife. More, and it's affecting people because the local stories get carried by the local press. We might not see it too often on the mainstream media, but these stories get carried on the local press, and then the local people are up in arms, man, And some of these cops are starting to get prosecuted for the shit they're doing. And that's great.
Right. That is real good.
I think they should all have to carry personal liability insurance, and they should have to fund it out of their own pocket.
I think they should have liability insurance that's paid for out of their own pocket, a certain amount of it, yeah.
Yep, absolutely. They should all also have to wear cameras.
They should be held personally responsible for some of the things that they do. And it's easy for the county sheriff to do that too. The county sheriff can say, I will back you to here. And if you go beyond that point, you're on your own. You know.
I'll back you so long as what you do is legal. But when you step over the line,
that's what I'm saying.
Then you have to pay. And you will also, if it comes to the point where you have to appear in court for something that you did to the general population, then you can pretty much bet you're not going to have a job when you come back.
Right. Yeah. You're pretty much going to be in the jail.
And if you're ever found liable,
typecast.
Right. Well, if you're ever found liable, whether or not you do any jail time, if you're ever found liable and found guilty, then you should be barred from ever wearing a badge again or working as a security officer or carrying a firearm.
I agree. You're right, because they're just, yeah. You cannot allow people to, go to that point, to where they get, power hungry. And that's what a lot of it is. They're told this from the time they're little children, and it's just insanity.
Well, most of
they arrest firefighters.
That was just ridiculous. That was ridiculous. For not doing what he was told, for not doing what the cop told him to do, not moving the fire truck. He had it parked where it was parked so he could protect his guys that were working on the scene and divert traffic. And the cop was he was a total jackass. I don't know whatever happened to that. I hope that cop got reprimanded or lost his job over it. But that was a ridiculous story. We covered that on the show. Hey, Lance, why don't you jump in here, man? I want to get your thoughts on some of this stuff too.
Oh, no, I'm agreeing with, you guys almost word for word on a lot of it. I don't think that anything will ever happen, because if mainstream media never reports it and Facebook actually gets into their censorship that they're talking about.
Oh yeah, the whole gun censorship shit.
Well, yeah, anything that would have to do with a gun, censoring it so it won't get around. I don't think that even if there was anything that went on any kind of revolution or whatever he's talking about, if nobody reports on it, did it happen? It's kind of one of those
like
things.
A tree to fall in the woods.
Exactly what I was getting at. So,
well, I think that, if it goes to the point where they're all wearing cameras, then we can have like live broadcasts. You can tune into your county's, and then, flip through them. You can, select the officers that are on duty, blah, blah, blah. They're all highlighted. Click the cam, watch what's going on, yada, yada. Mm-hmm. I think that'll slow a bunch of it down, because you see a lot of those reports too. I think San Diego PD was one of the largest ones that put cameras on everybody. They got the little, the little sunglasses cams on everybody.
And police brutality complaints went down 88% or something like that.
Right. And just even, the complaints went down, and just interactions, police interactions with people went down like 26%. So they didn't do any more of the stop and frisks. Hey, let's go roust this dude. They didn't do any more of that shit.
You said, let your papers, please. You were joking on that just a minute ago.
Mm-hmm.
And I know everybody saw that video about the two black guys that fought the two cops inside of a burger joint up in New York, New Jersey.
Right.
It was made everywhere. And they got off in court for beating these cops' ass because they asked them for their ID.
The cops had no legal right to ask them.
None.
They were not in the commission of a crime. There was no call there. The cops just happened to show up and start rousting them.
Well, they had been following them, and then they followed them inside there.
Right.
And then they asked them for their ID. And one of them was a law student at the college, right, and one of them was pre-something. I can't remember. But both of them knew their rights. They said no, and a fight ensued. They whooped those cops' ass.
They're lucky they got out of there alive.
Yeah, you're right, because they're lucky they didn't get shot.
Yeah.
But, they got off out of court. So, there are some, there is a little bit of justice. And your caller was talking about good cops. They are out there.
There is good justice out there. There's some judges out there that are on our side. Don't ever kid yourself. If the system was that bad, you might as well just hang yourself in your basement. We are pushing back against this a little bit. And there are people in high up areas that are judges, lawyers, prosecutors, deputy sheriffs, county sheriffs that are good people. So
Right.
it's not horrible, but it's bad. You know,
No, it's horrible.
and
It's horrible, Jimmy. I mean, if you pay attention to it like I do, it's horrible. It's horrible to see one of those stories.
Look at how they want to get rid of deputies. They want to get rid of county sheriffs. And the reason they want to get rid of county sheriffs is because we, the people, control them.
Yeah, we elect them. And the county sheriff is the most powerful man in your county. So they want to do away with them. Right. They want to go back to all local police departments so that they're all under federal control, under the control of DHS.
Yep, exactly. And it used to be local police departments had to answer to the county sheriff.
They do. They still do.
They're the ones that give them their oath of office.
But you don't see a whole lot of counties getting, well, you see some, but you don't see a whole lot of counties getting their MRAPs and shit. You know, the ones that are on the take do.
Well, because
but most of the MRAPs are going to the local police, you know.
Right. They're all money hungry too, and they all take all this federal money and then they got to play the game.
Right.
You know, and that's what's really bad. You know, just like they're having they want to have active shooter training here in our county, and they're having forums to decide how to spend the money. Well, they're having a public forum to find out how to spend the money. I don't think that's a bad idea. No. I disagree with them taking the money in the first place, but if you're having a public forum and you're going to go ask the public, well, what should we do? Well, how should we train teachers? How should we train administrators, janitors, and what have you? I think that's you're asking the public to get involved.
If they want to have an active shooter drill, they need to go to the nearest military base or close down mall or some shit. Like, they don't need to have it at a school that still has students.
You can have it at a school when there's no school in session.
Well, but that gives them access to every freaking locker in that school, man. I'm just looking out for the kids. You know, I wouldn't want them going into my school even if I was there or not there. I wouldn't want them having access to my locker and shit. You know, no way.
Well, no, I'm talking about doing it in the summertime when there's no school in session.
Well, yeah, I can see that.
Kids are there, and they're just using the facility. They're using the school,
right?
The facility, and they can ask for volunteers. They can get kids to volunteer. A lot of parents will volunteer. They can get all kinds of
programming,
people.
man. That's programming. You know,
I mean, I have
that's
no
the way
problem.
I see that. Well, yeah, that's the way I see that.
I'll go pretend to be a history teacher for a day, and go through and train your officers. I don't have a problem with that.
Yeah.
But what I do have a problem with is you coming into a regular school during school hours and using my kids and my neighbor's kids as tools, as instruments.
Right.
I have a real problem with that. But if you want to ask for volunteers and use a facility, that's fine. That's different. And you don't know what you're going to get. Because if I'm a history teacher, I might fight back against the guy. You know, I mean,
right.
I might turn a fire extinguisher on the son of a bitch and beat him up. You know?
Hey, we're running out of time here. I want to make sure you got everything out about the American Spring thing.
Well, that's pretty much everything that I know at this point. I'm going to wait and see. I will have more for you on Wednesday, I guess, is your next show.
Yeah.
Okay, I'll have more for you by then because I will have talked to more of the leadership in the Tea Party. I am working very closely with the Tea Party people because they're as concerned as I am. And I know all these people. They're my friends. And so they're not against the militia or anything. And they were very, very concerned when they heard when I told them
American
about
Spring, yeah. Well, it kind of had me nervous, too, when we first started talking about it. I was like, you know what? If a bunch of jackasses show up in Washington and start chucking rocks at the cops and shit like they're doing over in the Ukraine, that's not going to work out good. You know, there's going to be a whole lot of dead civilians because they're not going to take it like the Ukraine did. You know, the first Molotov cocktail that hit those dumb sons of bitches and set a couple of them on fire, man, they'd open up. They'd mow down probably 40 of them before they stop shooting. You know what I mean? It just wouldn't, it wouldn't wind up good here.
Remember when this started about 6-8 weeks ago in the Ukraine, that some of the towns where they were actually doing this, the cops took off there and joined the protesters. They took off their stuff and joined the protesters because they were outside the people. Before
Mossad and the CIA got involved, it was pretty peaceful. You know, they were against the government. They started passing these non-protesting laws because I think the whole thing started over a little minuscule, you know, whatever.
The ham radio thing. Oh, you gotta okay, hang on. The ham radio thing. I mean, the guy that I talked to in the Ukraine last week, you know, look at him. He's just a regular guy like us. He just wants to be left alone.
Right.
You know? And he doesn't care. He lives in Serbia, and he's like, well, it doesn't matter. We've always been Russian here, so it doesn't really make any difference to me. I'm going to be a Ukrainian, and I don't care what they do. And I don't want to be in the European Union because I don't want to be saddled with that debt. Because as soon as you sign on with the European Union, you're responsible. Your country is responsible for a percentage of that debt.
Right. Look at Cyprus. They took the whole damn country.
Yeah, exactly. And the Greeks too. They took all their money.
Yep.
You know, took it right out of their bank accounts.
Yep.
You know, so
hey, we'll get into more of this on Wednesday, man.
All right.
We're kind of getting down to the last few minutes of the show, so.
Sure, it was really good talking with you, and
hey,
you guys
too,
have
man.
a good weekend. And God bless all of you.
I appreciate it, man. Take care of yourself and be safe when you're out there doing all your run around, trying to dig information. Watch your six.
Always thinking.
All right.
Always looking. All right.
We'll see you later, Jimmy. That was Jimmy from Michigan, Wendy's buddy, talking about the American Spring. We're going to keep talking about that too until they drop it. You know, once it's fully dropped and they're not trying to get a bunch of yahoos to show up like Adam Kokesh style, then we'll let it go too. Until then, we're going to keep telling everybody just no. Right, Lance? No.
Nope.
Even if you go up there,
you won't get enough lazy Americans.
No. But there's some crazy ones out there, dude. I mean, you saw those guys that were on the prepper networks and stuff, you know, say, I'm going to go around and take your shit. We're not piling nothing. Whatever, dude.
Mm-hmm.
So there is some yahoos out there.
No doubt.
Now, a million mask march, you know, the whole, anonymous thing, that would have been cool. Seeing a bunch of anonymous masks running around up there. Cause they were just there to prove a point, you know, make a point.
I thought they made that a crime. I thought they made that a crime
I think they did.
March in a mask.
That was up in Canada, wasn't it? I think that was up in Canada.
Could be.
But anyway, we got to do something. I think something's happening. You know, I think it's taken its time. So maybe we need to egg it on a little bit from time to time. Keep trying to, you know, smack people awake. Go ahead.
If you can't feel it deep down in your bones that something's off kilter, something's not right, and something's going to happen, then you're just not in tune yet. Something's up.
You can't have close to, well, over a third of this country out of work and not, you know what I mean? Cause like what did Kaiser say? Max Kaiser said there was a tipping point in this country. I think me, you, and Ocelli talked about it. There's a tipping point in this country when people start spending more than 40% of their pay, of their money on food to feed themselves. They start getting irritated.
And it's not even food that we're buying. It's food-like stuff.
Right. So you're not getting the nutrients anyway. So you're going to be a little off anyway, right?
Yeah.
But it's at that 40% now. It has been for a little while. So, it can't get a whole lot worse. When Jimmy was saying, no, it's not that bad yet. It's not that bad. It's horrible, man. It's horrible, for Christ's sake. Mm-hmm. If you don't have a job, it can't get much worse. And a third of this country doesn't. So,
and over half of them are dependent on government subsidies.
Right. Even if they do have a job, a lot of them don't make enough to make ends meet. You're right.
Yeah. I mean, he said that the way the revolution would start would be like the way he said that it would, where they'd come in and overpower. I mean, like I've said before, it's going to take a financial collapse to have the public beg for martial law to come in, restore order.
Restore order. Mm-hmm. Come on, man.
Come protect us. We want to get back to we have soccer games this weekend. Come protect us.
Is this the order? Is this the order that you want? Really? I mean, come on, people.
Become a slave.
Yeah. Just keep paying your taxes and shut up.
That's right. Let me get back to being my slave.
But it can't continue. The printing of the money can't continue. The not paying attention to the public can't continue. The world looking at us like a joke cannot continue.
We just need to quit. I mean, if we wouldn't have pissed so many people off for the last 60, 70, 200 years, quite frankly, but particularly the last 60, then we'd be in much better shape.
Yeah.
That's why Canada doesn't have any enemies. They haven't pissed off anybody. No, do they even have an army? I don't know. I mean, they don't piss off anybody, so what do they need an army for?
I don't know. Everybody's wondering about 777 too, about the 777 Malaysia flight. We got 30 seconds.
I planned on talking about that. I didn't know he was going on, but that was good information.
We're gonna go into it more on Wednesday. We'll have more information on the flight on Wednesday.
I'm thinking hijacking, and that thing is landed at an airport somewhere.
Somebody would have followed it on radar.
They flew below radar level, and technology, the Syrian army took it off radar, and it landed in, let's say, Iran. That's my possibility.
They said that there was things about it making a U-turn in the air, so I don't know.
Yep, and another plane following it. Dabu 7 had out. So It's interesting.
We'll talk about it more on Wednesday for sure.
Peace and love.
Peace and love. Turboville's next. Alex Allen after that. Then Anti-Media Radio with Mr. Nick Burnaby. Peace, everybody. UCY.